Hi, Csaba here, back with another proven sales letter breakdown video in which I'm breaking down kick-ass copywriting examples written by the best copywriters of all time over the course of 90 days at least. So in this one, I'm gonna actually make good on a promise I made about a week ago. So in the 23rd video, I think, I broke down this is the most dangerous crisis in America faced in 89 years promotion. It's an Agora promotion selling the Stockman Letter, so it's basically a newsletter. And since it's a pretty long sales page, so it's 30-something pages, I only reviewed the headline and the lead itself in the first video. So now in this video, I want to basically cover the rest of it as well because it's a great example of an awesome front-end sales letter that's probably bringing in tens of thousands of new customers every single month. I don't know the exact specifics for this, but it's definitely super powerful. And if you read it, or at least parts of it, you're gonna discover why. So very quickly, just to give you a quick recap, if you're new to this video or this series as well, on what I did in my previous, the 23rd video. And by the way, you should definitely check that video out because there's tons of gold there, copywriting gold on how to write better headlines, how to write better leads, which is the first part of a sales letter, how to hook people in emotionally, how to set the correct tone and everything. I'm gonna leave a link to that video somewhere, there or there, and also a link below the video in the description section. Make sure to check it out. And also, if you enjoy these review videos, then subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell because that way you'll be the first to know when I release a new video. And I'm doing these probably daily, but some people still missed the videos. So if you want to follow along, as some people are following along, then I definitely recommend you this. So as a quick recap, basically what we have here is something called a proclamation lead, and this is for unaware and or even maybe problem-aware people, but the main shtick here is that with this type of headline and this type of thing, the copywriter issues a dire warning. So it basically says DC Insider issues dire warning. If you can't afford to lose 50% of your portfolio like you did in 2009, so this bites hard. You must read this now. This is the most dangerous crisis America has faced in 89 years. The Trump effect is gone, the Fed has abandoned the investors, and we are headed for a massive reset of the American economy that will wipe out millions. So that's the headline complex, and as you can see, it's pretty powerful. So basically, it hooks people in emotionally. The target audience for this is basically senior citizens who are right-leaning. They probably have more money, they want to invest, they might have lost a lot of money in the 2009 financial crisis, and then they're afraid that another crash is coming. Basically, in the investment circles, pretty much everyone's afraid that a big reset or recession is coming, but nobody knows when, obviously, because everything is so inflated. We're living in a bubble, and the writer for this, the copywriter, definitely knows this because he's done his research, and the target audience is really believes this whole thing. And what one of the key things that we've learned from Eugene Schwartz is that you shouldn't really try to manufacture desire or manufacture new fears. You should definitely focus on mass desires and mass fears instead, because it's already there in people. You cannot motivate them to do something, but you can summon and even agitate their pains and fears and hopes and dreams. Okay, so that's what you should always do. And then the whole sales letter basically begins in a very friendly tone by a guy called Stockman, who's like this people's person. He was the image is not here actually at the moment, but if I scroll down, here's the image. Like, he's portrayed next to Ronald Reagan, who's like one of the heroes of this target audience. Again, we're talking of people in their late 50s, 60s, 70s even, who are right-leaning and who have a lot of money, but they want to protect it now and they want to invest it in better ways actually, and they're very jaded by all the empty promises that they got. So basically the whole lead, and again, for more details, just watch the other video. It's like a 25 or 30-minute video just for about the 3 first pages, so it's pretty in detail, but like it sets the tone, and it's all about like creating curiosity and making people read the message itself. So in this video, let's just start analyzing it from this part. So after the lead, and remember, the main job of the lead is to get people to actually read more stuff. Basically, the writer here sets up a trap. So he says the current economic recovery is a sham. And it is, to some degree. Like, I'm also invested in investments to some degree. And I mean, it's certainly, like, there are fishy things going on, you know, and like, it's so crazy what's going on out there with the GameStop fiasco, and like, yeah, everything's just crazy out there. But that's what it is. And then he basically describes the problem. He sets up another proclamation saying that this 10-year bull market has done nothing for those who need it most. So it sets up a problem. It also shows a lot of graphs and charts all throughout the sales letter. And this is very important proof, you know, is very, very important. And you'll notice when analyzing financial promotions that there's tons of proof, but also for health as well. So in niches in which people are really afraid and careful about these things, you really have to have a lot of proof. And as you can see, like, you only have like a few paragraphs, and boom, you have another chart, another paragraphs, another chart, like a subhead, a picture, again, pictures, credibility, proof everywhere. So it's more like a real, like, special report. It seems like an analysis of something, and it does give away value. So it explains a few things that are happening in the world right now, but obviously it teases a lot of things. And ultimately, like, the only way for you to discover what's up for real with this whole thing is to basically buy the newsletter subscription that this one's selling. So buy the product. So we start up, you know, explaining the problem itself with a bunch of proof elements, you know, to give context to people. It's really important to make context to people. Don't make them work in understanding your argument, because they might be PhDs as well. It's not about like not being able to like understand it, but that like they aren't willing to put in the work to understand it. Okay, they don't want anything that's confusing at all. And then we kind of, like, the writer kind of explains like what's the problem. He calls, like, we are living in bubble finance, you know, in the world of low interest rates, and like everyone's indebted and stuff like that. So I like how, and you're gonna notice this later on as well, he gives a lot of like fantasy names to people, like to concepts like bubble finance. You see, again, here's a chart that just lends credibility to the whole thing. Then we have another philosophical question. So where has all that money gone? And it's a good question. Like, a lot of people are feeling like they're paying taxes, you know, they are paying a lot to the government and other sources. Everybody just wants their money, but like, what happens to that? And then the copywriter goes on to basically agitate the pain even more, and to just, again, validate the pre-existing beliefs of this target audience, because this target audience believes that Wall Street is corrupt, the government is corrupt, the whole left is corrupt, like, people are actively trying to steal their country away from them, like, people aren't patriots anymore. And don't start thinking about whether you personally like agree or disagree with these things. It doesn't matter. If you're a copywriter, you have to write for a client in a client's voice. If the target audience believes this and the research shows that they believe this, then you have to also like write in a way that validates their pre-existing beliefs, because otherwise it just won't convert. So you really have to be like a chameleon. Like, you have to take on this persona on you based on the target audience. And that's why, like, the highest level copywriters of all time, you know, they specialize in only one niche, like health copywriters, or like finance, or relationships, dating, stuff like that. Okay, so basically what the writer is doing still is that he's telling a bunch of things that make the reader feel like, I knew these crooks are screwing me over. So he just establishes an us versus them mentality. Like, it's us, the real patriots, and all the other crooks in the government and in Wall Street. So, and he goes on to agitate the pain even more, like what happened during the Great Recession. Like, you probably lost a bunch of money. 51 million households, nearly 43% of Americans, like, couldn't afford like basic necessities. And notice all the specifics. Like, this just shows that this sales page, and as well as good sales pages, they are based on research. Like, it's not like empty promises at all. It's not airy fairy bubbly type of language. It's like, hey, here's a graph, here's another graph with like a bunch of numbers and specific and specific and specific and contextualized specifics. That's what I like. So what these types of copywriters do is that they say something, they back it up with, like, they make a claim, they back it up with proof, and then they also like dimensionalize it by saying that, this is just like you were, I don't know, and they come up with an analogy or a metaphor to make it easier to understand. But they start agitating the pain. Notice how all these stats and all the whole thing seems to be valuable. So the advertisement itself is very valuable because we want people to get invested in it emotionally. We want them to like agree with it to some degree, and only then will they be ready to actually buy something. And even like this audience, I think the hardest job for a copywriter is to sell something to like this audience. So it's no wonder why Agora, the company who published this, has the best copywriters on the planet, because like they write for the most competitive markets ever, and people there are super skeptical. So that's why you have to use tons and tons of proof. So after this part, after getting people emotionally like hooked in the whole thing, the copywriter introduces David Stockman, who is like the guru of this promotion. So what this means is that we have a copywriter who basically writes in the name of this David Stockman, okay? And then, immediately we get a bunch of like credibility building elements for David Stockman. So if somebody haven't heard about him, or even if they did, like immediately, like the copywriter shares his like David's philosophy by saying that I still believe in America. Very important. This bodes well with the target audience. Then we see pictures of him with Reagan, again, the hero of this target audience, instant credibility. We have stuff like, we believed and still believe in sound money, low taxes, small government, and unleashing free enterprise for the benefit of it all. So all the things that are super important for our target audience, that they really hold dear. Then we have like other more media mentions, like how he was featured in Fox News, Fox Business, and Bloomberg. Like, notice how Fox News. So again, we see that this message goes out to right-leaning audiences. And again, like, don't try to mix up your own personal beliefs into it. Like, if you're a professional copywriter, you write for a target audience. If they believe that, Satan is coming to get them, then you write something like that, because that's how you convert them. Obviously, you have to be ethical about it, but it is what it is. So we have a bunch of nice catchphrases here, like Imperial Washington. Again, something that most people in this target's audience probably believe. Then we have a bold prediction once again. So the third market crash of the century is coming, and more agitation. So at this point, what the copywriter is doing is that he's just building up the case for the reader to feel like, yes, we have a big enemy in the government, and we have to do something about it. We have to fight against it. And this is really critical, because you have to like build up that desire and that motivation inside them. Otherwise, they will default to doing nothing. What most people do in most cases, they do nothing. And it's really nice how this hook, like this is kind of an open loop. So we open the loop now by saying that you have to fight, and then when we get to the offer part, to the call to action part, it's all about like, hey, join this movement that will save America. And that's why it's so needed for this. And you really need to have a lot of copy, like the number of words as you can see, this promotion is 31 pages long. And some people might ask, isn't that too long? Like, who reads it? Well, first of all, not everybody reads everything, but you never know which part connects with the person. But a surprising amount of people will read it or watch it as well, because this also has like a video sales letter version as well. But in order to shift their beliefs and make them accept your idea in a super competitive market, it's needed to include all these things. So basically, the copywriter here just agitates the malice of the enemy, which is like Wall Street. And here is a great example of a metaphor that I mentioned. So basically, he agitates how, Wall Street is evil. And then he says like, Wall Street is the house to the stock market casino, and the house always wins. So again, it's something that anybody can understand immediately. So even if we're talking about financial terms and something like that, this metaphor that just drives it home. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. I do understand why casinos always win, like the house always wins. But I didn't know that about Wall Street as well. And then we have more proof to agitate, to make, to like underline the point, and also to agitate, like how federal spending will outpace revenue, like there's a growing deficit. We have another great metaphor by saying your household couldn't survive by increasing total debt by 10% each and every year, and the American economy won't either. So basically the writer makes the case of like, hey, deficit is rising 10% each year, and then it just makes sense that eventually the house has to crumble, because imagine your household like living with 10% increasing deficit every year. I mean, you wouldn't survive. And it makes sense. Everything makes sense. And it's just amazing, because not only does it make sense, but the writer also includes a lot of preemptive objection handling elements, like saying that, for example, this one, but your losses won't just disappear into thin air. Your money will simply move to the other side of the table, to the operators of the deep state, ready to commit to the third transfer of wealth in the past 20 years with the next market crash. The problem is, nobody is fighting for you in Washington, and President Trump certainly can't save you. So this is just a genius paragraph, or number of paragraphs here, because like it agitates the pain so much, and it's like, hey, you not only will you lose money, but actually it's just gonna make those crooks even richer. So this guy, David Stockman, the voice of this whole promotion, definitely starts to resemble Robin Hood a little bit, okay? And that's why I think it's one of the reasons, the big idea why this whole promotion is successful. So then we have an interesting subhead which says, if you need your money in the next 5 years, it's time to start fighting back. So as you can see, we start to get deeper and deeper into that narrative of like, hey, I want you to join fight as well. And for young people, this 5 years wouldn't count so much, because, okay, you have investments, let's say the market crashes, so what? Like eventually we all know that it's gonna probably go up. But if you're like 65 years old and your retirement is dependent on your life savings, it does matter whether like the market crashes 50%, because if you want to like get money out of your like monthly money out of your savings, then you're gonna end your portfolio like halves. Then suddenly you realize that you only have money for like 10 years instead of like 25 years of retirement, and it's a big stress factor for this audience, believe me. So we have another objection handling elements by saying that Wall Street's buy and hold advice will get crushed. So again, just think with the head of this target audience. They're not new to investing. They are familiar with the basics. They are familiar with like Warren Buffett, like basically promoting the S&P 500, or like the buy and hold strategy, or index funds, or something like that. They are aware of it. But then how do you sell something for those people? Well, the only way to sell them something is to agitate the pain enough so that they start doubting whether the buy and hold strategy or index fund strategy will work for them, especially in their case, because they're gonna need money soon. And then, we have more stuff that the target audience just loves to read, shifting beliefs after it, and validating already existing beliefs, like the deep state is real, like in case you doubted it, the the writer calls Washington the imperial city. So it's a great little I wouldn't say it's metaphor, but it's a nice parallel, to call Washington imperial city and like deep state, and it's all an us versus them narrative, okay? Because this is what the target audience believe me. It's the copywriter isn't doing this because he has like no other things to do or something. He's forced to do it because this is what the target audience believes, and he just gives them what they want. That's it. Then he teases the secret behind the bold prediction. Then he like paints the dream. So sometimes we have elements which like describe the problem, but then paint the dream as well a little bit, so that people keep reading, and then they start salivating for the solution. So I've come to Washington to drain the swamp of bureaucracy. Like this thing, again, something that's very important to the target audience. They love Reagan, and the drain the swamp, this also became like a tagline for a bunch of right-wing people. But this is just voice of customer data, so that's why, again, the copywriting is using it. It is what it is. So then he goes on to like explain the master plan of these insiders. So by saying that, and when the shit finally does hit the fan, we'll be looking at not just the death of the American dream, but another massive recession, or worse. It may not happen in the next few months, but it's coming. It's all part of the deep state's plan to steal half your money with the third market crash in the past 20 years. And I'd rather start fighting back now than wait until it's too late. So again, he just positions the guru, the name of this, so the brand behind this promotion, as a Robin Hood character, as like someone who's out there helping the little guy, okay? And he fights against the big bad Wall Street guys. And then we have actually content. So this is helpful content that people have in a promotion by basically describing 5 weapons of the deep state. So this, first of all, agitates the problem more, but also establishes the us versus them mentality even more. And remember, it's a crucial element for the persuasion setting. So in order to persuade people, it's crucial to like remind them of their hatred towards their enemies and show that you are with them, because that's one of the strongest motivating factors that you can ever imagine. That one thing. And then the copywriter goes on to basically describe 5 different weapons of the deep state. So these are like, this also shift people's beliefs a little bit and make them like realize the full depth of this problem. So we have very skewed language naturally because of this, but that's what the target audience wants. We have nice fantasy names like Bubble Finance and like Bailout Nation. As you can see, we have the second little tip or something like that here. And sometimes it's cute, definitely, but sometimes you also have true things in there, like saying that in the US today, the top 1% of American households now owns more wealth than the bottom 90% combined, while 41 million Americans receive food stamps and 100 million aren't in the labor force. So obviously this is again a bit skewed, because I don't think it's that bad, especially now that unemployment has shut down. But it's a bit skewed, but it still has basis in reality, and that's why it's so powerful and connects with people. And then we have more agitation, more numbers and charts and everything. We have the third very interesting thing that even I haven't heard before, like angled in this way, because he says the K Street Mafia and the revolving door. So he could just say something like, corrupt officials in Washington, but he says something that that has its own uniqueness to it, okay? And that's why it makes it interesting and people want to read it more. And then when people start realizing this, and notice again how, after every 200-300 words of copy, we have some illustration or graph or visual element or something like that. And we have great descriptive images. So once people scroll down and notice this, it obviously makes sense. So meet your government. So government positions and big oil like executive positions. Oh, look at that. There's an intersection. Like, what does that mean? Obviously, it means that the government does what the big corporations want. So big oil. Okay, now we do the same thing for big pharma. Okay, I can see, again, a very big intersection. Then for Goldman Sachs, so big banks. Then for Monsanto. And these are all things that our target audience hates. So obviously, it makes sense for them. And this, again, just validates the target audience's pre-existing beliefs. If you haven't noticed this by now, it's all about validating the pre-existing beliefs of the audience. We have more graphical elements, and then we have the fourth deep state secret, which is the military-industrial surveillance complex. So this is a classic thing that's been used in almost every single alternative documentary or something, like President Dwight D. Eisenhower's famous quote that you shouldn't let, the two, like the military and the industrial complex, intertwine because it's going to result in trouble, and then we have pictures of people who the target audience doesn't like. I mean, I don't know exactly why they don't like Mike Pompeo, but I'm not that into US politics, by the way. And then notice the fantasy nicknames. It's really powerful because people will start remembering it much more, and they're gonna like notice this to their friends who also have the same beliefs, and they're gonna get like respect points from them. So we have James Mad Dog Mattis, we have Bloody Gina Haspel. It's something that it's memorable, and it's always wise to use something like that in your copy as well. So then we have more graphs like they spend all that money on like wars and everything, but like for what? Other things like how the establishment is pushing Russophobia when they shouldn't. And then the fifth weapon of the deep state is the socialist agenda. And this is the big enemy that the target audience absolutely hates the most, definitely. So they don't want socialism. And then obviously you have four people here who the target audience definitely hates. So it is like it makes sense. So then the writer goes on to also describe what the target audience despises more, and then we also have like everything makes sense. Like if you are reading this as from the perspective of the target audience, it makes sense because, and with this growing entitlement to infinite free everything comes a powerful voting bloc who isn't shy about demanding it. So like it makes sense why like the government would be pushing for socialism because that gives them more voting points. Okay, so and then we have bubble finance, bailout nation, the warfare state, the welfare state. So all the things and partially fantasy names that are memorable and connect with the audience. But who will tell the president? So here's another problem, because at this point many of the readers would feel like, okay, but like President Trump will save us. And this was obviously written before the election, but President Trump will save us. But nah, the writer says, no. I mean, even he doesn't listen anymore that much. Back in the days of Ronald Reagan, I, as the guru, as Stockman, David Stockman, was the one who told the president what to do, but not anymore. And then thanks to like Bush 1, Clinton, Bush 2, and Obama, the deep state is bigger than ever, more credibility, and then more reason why, why his argument basically makes sense. Now here's the rest of the story. So we have some trivia elements to this as well. And then this ties in nicely with basically the first part of the offer. So I think this is the part where the offer itself begins. But a big commonality of financial promotions is that they don't sell the newsletter subscription itself, because it's a hard sell to sell subscriptions, okay? It's way easier to like basically angle everything is that, hey, I have this special report and I'm giving it to you free. All you need to do to get it for free is to just basically pay a little bit of money for my newsletter as well, and then you're gonna get all these cool bonuses for free with it. And then he sets up the whole problem. Everything that he talked about so far, the copywriter, it's all about setting up this special report, which is the weapons of the deep state. And as you can see, you know, all the 5 weapons that we talked about, it's a teaser to the report so that you actually want the report. But then you hear that it's free. More people are going to want that than if you said that, hey, I've given you 5 tips, now go buy my newsletter because I'm going to give you 50 more there. Okay? No, this is much more powerful. And then this also explains why this offer exists in the first start. So it reminds me of the books from Simon Sinek called Start with Why. So that's why I'd like to send you a much more detailed report, The Weapons of the Deep State. It makes sense, okay? And then you have a little picture of it. You have a price anchor, which will come in handy later on when we reveal the price. We have some basic bullets and fascinations which build desire and curiosity for this, and that's it. And then, you know, we have two more things to talk about. The first one is the Proposition 2020, a 3-step plan to defend your wealth and your freedoms from the deep state. So up until this point, we've talked about the problem and understanding the problem. But obviously, you shouldn't let your people hanging by just talking about the problem. So you're actually going to talk about how to fix it now, okay? So this is I'm also gonna give you something that fixes the problem. And then this serves as a transition to the main offer, while it also serves as another free special report that they're getting, you know, and it also has some cool steps, so that this showcases that it's easy, you know, it's a step-by-step, and there's a bunch of more advanced persuasion psychology hacks that go into this. I won't really cover them right now, but leave a comment below the video if you want to hear more about these things, about these advanced persuasion triggers or something, and I might make a video out of it, okay? So defend your financial independence. This, in addition to being another step, it also gives people the control. So it at least gives them the illusion of control to you, the reader, okay? So remember how in the beginning there was this thing called the open loop, which opened up that, hey, I am your Robin Hood and I'm gonna fight for you. You just join me in the fight later on. Well, this comes back to it, and it hints at one more thing that's needed to join the fight before actually giving them the offer, which is angled almost exclusively in a way that you should join the fight. Okay, hope this makes sense. So defend your financial independence, you know, and defend your freedoms and make your voice heard. So it's uplifting, motivating thing that our target audience wants to hear, and it also symbolizes power to the people. So defend your financial independence, you know. After these bonuses, we have some more reason why copy, so explaining why this whole thing makes sense. Basically, we have more agitation and we have more proof elements, you know, what's happening and how, you know, middle income households are screwed and only the top 1% really benefits from all these things. And this is very start. First of all, it's a pattern interrupt, because as people are scrolling, let's say they aren't reading, they're like, well, what's up with Warren Buffett? Everybody wants to hear about Warren Buffett because he's considered to be as the Oracle of Omaha, so one of the best investors of all time. And actually, the copywriter gives a very legit tip here, by the way, by saying that, okay, I know that Warren Buffett recommends the S&P 500, and there's a bunch of studies that show that the S&P 500 converted, did better than 99, almost every single of the mutual funds out there on the long term. But it's true that now we are getting closer to a cycle which probably won't be so kind to the S&P 500 as the 2010s were. Okay, so now some things are shifting, and this is a very legit tip, and it makes people think, because remember, these people, the target audience, they're well versed in investments. They're not professional at all, but they know the basics definitely, and this is how you can circumvent that a little bit. So then here's another special report that you get: how to protect your wealth. Again, more solution focused, and we also have a price anchor, like a $99 value, and some bullets and fascinations as well. and the open loop. Once again, like this is a separate open loop, so the writer sometimes uses these as well. Like I'll tell you in a moment how to get a copy of this report, but first, so this just builds more curiosity to people. And then we get introduced to a third special report by saying how to make your voice heard in the halls of Congress and the Oval Office. So once again, it's that power to the people narrative that I mentioned. We get back to it, and then this is Proposition 2020. So like one person, one vote. And this is special report number 3 that gives back power to you, to the people. And then we have some description about that. So we then after it basically have a classic offer structure in a sense, but it's more simplified actually. And again, I won't really go into offer structures now because it's a big topic of its own. But if you want to hear more about it, then leave a comment below the video and I might make a video. In fact, I will make a video about it eventually. So we have just an offer recap, like, hey, like these are the tips that I mentioned. This is what you get. You get this. You get this with like one more jab to the deep state. We get this. So 3 cool special reports, all yours for free, like a $300 value. And all you have to do, all I ask in return is one thing: join me in this fight against the deep state. So instead of saying buy my newsletter, like the copywriter came up with another angle, a positioning angle, inviting people to join him in the fight. And this is a much friendlier message than like, hey, buy my shit, okay? Because it probably connects with people more, and especially people who are more outspoken. Some of them will buy the offer just because they just want their voice to be heard, just because they want to leave a comment somewhere or something, okay? So it's always a good idea to position your offer, well, not always, but in many cases, it's a good idea to position your offer as if it was the voice of the people itself, okay? This gives reason behind your whole argument. Then we have some proof about this whole thing, and only then, like, notice we're at the 27th page out of 31. Only then does the copywriter introduce the Stockman Letter. And I'm actually surprised a little bit why he didn't do a bunch of other like proven offer structure things, like, you know, more price anchoring and like more stuff, but it's still super effective even like that. Probably he didn't want to like sound too salesy, so that was the reason probably. But this is like a special invitation, okay? So it's like which is why today I like to invite you to become one of the founding members of my brand new project, introducing the Stockman Letter. So again, it's not about buy my shit, it's about, hey, become a crucial part, a crucial original part of this bigger than us project that's there to save America and the American dream, okay? Would you like to join? And then people are be like, yes, it sounds interesting. And that's what the copywriter was doing here. So here, then we have some bullets on what you get. We have some visual elements as well, like full offer recap, like you get these bonuses and you get this special report and this, and like charts and monthly issues, and like what are the columns, you know, the 3 main sections in the report as well, in the newsletter, and probably it's like printed even, I don't know, but like you get the dynamic asset allocation model. So adding extra logical elements to the offer, so something that makes sense, okay? So we basically still have the offer recap section, another cool extra, so all these cool things. And it just seems like, think about it, like if this was you, like you're like, okay, so the Stockman Letter, so at this point I might feel like I'm interested or not, but then you start scrolling and you're like, oh my god, I have get this, and I get this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and even more, and more, and more, and more, and more, and more, and I got everything. So, and then the call to action doesn't say buy now, but it says, yes, I'm ready to join the fight. So it's a very strong, uniquely motivating call to action, because like after it just seems like an irresistible offer to people, because like, yes, I am invested emotionally in this thing, I want to do it, and why shouldn't you, right? This is not another free email like the many clogging your inbox, so this is objection handling here. He starts talking about the free newsletter as well. Basically, he gives like a reason why behind why a paid version of this newsletter exists, by saying that, you know, I, as David Stockman, I publish my free newsletter, but there's only so much I can share there, because all these things need to be researched. And again, it makes sense. Everything makes sense here. So I need to do all that research, and the only way for me to allocate enough time to do that research is if I hire a pro publishing company. And then the copywriter even mentions Agora, like, hey, I hired in the name of the guru here, in the name of Stockman. So I've decided to hire a private independent publishing house in Baltimore, Maryland to help me handle all the operational details. Which means I do have to charge something to pay the staff and office bills. The cost of your annual membership to the Stockman Letter, a modest $79 for the year, just $6.85 a month. So it's we had the price anchor for like 3 times $100, and now when you finally find out the price, it's only $79, which is like, in the world of like free money and like helicopter money and stuff like that, like $6.58 a month, it's nothing. It's like a Starbucks coffee, like a better one. That's it. So you get all this, and you get to get the bonuses, and you get even more bonuses, and you get to like join this big cause that's bigger than all of us, to save America itself. Okay, to save America, you only have to pay $6.85 a month. So it's a no-brainer. And then you have like a 90-day money-back guarantee as well, with like the picture. Again, this is more of an advanced persuasion psychology stuff, but in a nutshell, like, to have people, he's like the watchdog. Okay, so to have his picture near the guarantee, it just makes people trust him more. Okay. And we have like we get another highlight of the purpose behind this bonus, behind this, like, hey, you have this Voices of America polling group survey as well, so you can also get your voice heard. And then we have the call to action. Yes, I'm ready to join the fight. I love this call to action. It's from the first perspective. It's something that really moves people, and that's what you want with the call to action, to move people. It's much easier for people to say yes to this than to say buy this now or add to cart or something. But then we have very smartly another alternative call to action by saying that, hey, you can also call our friendly Baltimore-based customer service, and they will just like sort you out. And then the last line, almost the last line, says, I hope you'll consider joining me today. So it's like, it gives people the illusion of control. It gives, obviously, like, the copywriter is doing so much like persuasion magic here that at this point, like, whoever makes it here, like, obviously they've been manipulated, let's say, by the copywriter. But if this is what they want, then it's like, it's not unethical at all. But like angling it like, hey, I hope you'll consider joining me today, it makes it so that you as the reader have the choice to do this. And people like that more than to say like, hey, this is your last chance and buy now or something. So basically, you can also be part of this movement. You can go down in American history as someone who saved America. Think about it. It triggers in people this feeling of patriotism, this feeling of like maybe telling their friends or loved ones who also care about the same things, most likely, about how they are real patriots who stood up when the country needed them, and all these things. And at the end, we have a little proof element, which also serves another purpose. And I think it's very smart, because at the end he says that, hey, I recently sent a draft of my latest book off to my publisher. Click here and I show you how to get a free copy of this book before it hits Amazon or any mainstream bookstore. So first of all, it adds more proof, because it's like, hey, one more book that this guy wrote, so he must know what he's talking about. But also the other thing is that if people don't buy, so this is there to like collect as many email addresses as possible, because if people don't buy, at least a certain percentage of them will still become subscribers. And this is free subscribers, which means Agora has to spend less on ads that get them new subscribers, which means, in a sense, the average order value of this promotion goes up, which means that they can afford to spend more to get other subscribers, other customers from Facebook or other cold traffic sources. So all in all, it's only 3 lines, and Gary Halbert did the same thing in my last promotion that I analyzed yesterday. So it's just 3 lines, but it adds a few dollars to the average order value in a sense, and it just lowers the cost per acquisition, which is it's a more advanced digital marketing thing here, but like it's still very, very important if you want to buy traffic from cold traffic sources. And it's if you want to build a really, really big business, you have to buy customers. But the only way for you to buy customers is to be able to spend more than your competition, or out convert them with better ads and everything. But at this level, guys, I mean, everybody has great ads. Every copywriter is a very high level at this level, but this is a great way to also get email subscribers, and then they're probably going to be pitched later as well with various offers. So it's a great thing to do. At least if people, made it until this part and they don't buy, they become email subscribers. It's still something. So, this was a pretty long video. It's like 45 minutes long, pretty extreme. But like, if you're still watching, first of all, kudos to you. Thank you so much for watching this until the end. And like, you can see why this is such a powerful promotion and why Agora has the best copywriting stuff out there. And hopefully, you've learned a lot from this. I very rarely see videos that go into so much detail as I did right now. So I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, and if you feel like this could also be helpful to others to learn a very, very good copywriting case study, to check it out, then make sure to share this video with them, because every share helps, and I want to like get this to as many people as possible. So, join the movement of bringing good copywriting to every household in America, and let's save the nature of marketing, okay? Yeah, so with that being said, thank you so much for watching this. I appreciate you making it until this point. You're amazing, and see you in the next